Yup. Welcome to the second episode of Watchlist Wednesday. Today, we are talking about yet another game that has the attention of some Tarkov players. It's called Marauders. Developed by Small Impact Games, or SIG, and published by one of my favorite publishers, Team 17. We've worked together a long time, we've done a lot of cool stuff, but this is something that I didn't really expect to come out of their studio, or at least out of their publishing house. I'm glad it is because, as you'll see, we're going to talk about some cool stuff, but it's a little bit different, and I'm ready for it. So, as always, let me give you the quick rundown on everything that those that don't have the time to be here and watch this entire video because you got better stuff to do, want to know. But if you want to know all the other cool stuff, please watch the whole thing. It helps me out. Subscribe, do all the things, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Marauders. It's an instance-based, hardcore looter shooter, just like Escape from Tarkov. At least on the most surface level. It takes place in space, and you enter each raid in your spaceship with the rest of your team, which can consist of 4 people in total. 1 captain, 3 crewmates. The captain and crewmate roles have a very small difference, but in what you'll have access to, but I'll get to that later. When you enter a raid, you have a couple of choices in how you proceed. While you're in a ship, you can solo pilot and fire your cannons, or have 1 pilot and 1 gunner to fire at the enemy players while your ship is doing all kinds of other stuff. You can go to disable these other ships and keep them from doing pretty much anything else in the immediate, moment. The enemy can escape via escape pods and can still enter the main part of the map at any point, and you guys can either make peace, you can destroy each other, or you can both escape or separately escape through one of the exfil portals. You can choose to board their ship and eliminate them from the raid completely if you choose to, but while the ship is being damaged or in any crucial condition, you yourself can also be hurt, so beware of that and be careful. Be careful because the pods that you use to board the other ships as well can be destroyed pretty easily if anybody's looking and gets it not easy, but a clear shot and they take you out. Well, as you were trying to be the aggressor and, getting probably the advantage, you could be taken out at any time just as easily. So you lose everything you brought in, and if you're alone and you brought a ship in, you lose that too. You lose everything, and your game's just over at that point. So that is an aggression play, and it is risky. Honestly, there's not a whole lot you get out of doing this, other than taking players out of the raid so you have more of a free reign. That's pretty much it, at least at the beginning. Additionally, before entering the interior part of the map, you can also look for other AI ships, and that are also in small parts all over the place. They're like little pieces of another map, essentially, but within the grand scheme of the bigger map. And they're meant to be semi-random when you can even see them, or when they're even there when they spawn themselves. On these ships are a lot of AI to fight, as well as any players who are choosing to do the same thing you were doing. You normally enter these ships via the pods, your escape pods from your ship, and breaching their hull. However, what you will probably spend most of your time doing is entering the interior of whichever map you spawn into. You don't really have a choice of map, assuming SIG is planning on changing this in the future. I assume the reason for this is because they want to control the fact that the population isn't too split between maps, and more players are able to join the same raid. Kind of not forcing PvP, but encouraging it, or at least giving people a chance to. I do believe that correct me if I'm wrong, that the maps are on rotation. There isn't really an indicator on which map is currently in the rotation of what's happening right now. It's not like maps get taken out or put in. They're just kind of on a loop of some sort. I don't really know what it is exactly, if there even is one, or if it's random, what have you. It just seems like that's just how it goes. So you can't tell what's happening right now, but it seems like it's rotation because if you play enough raids within a short amount of time, you play the same map over and over until you don't, and you move to a different map. For the most part, the map is built mostly the same. However, what appears in space as far as AI ships is somewhat random. And what I mean by that is there are 5 different maps that are in rotation. The Iridium asteroid mine, the L18 1, 2 service space station, the Navy outpost, the penal colony Beta 5, and the terraformer. And then there are random AI spawn ships, like I said before, that are called the merchant ship and the damaged capital ship. You can usually tell these are boardable by the bright red operating lights that you see on the ships themselves. And within these maps, the physical space of the map itself and the ships are the same. So you can actually learn the layouts, and I suggest you do, because it can be difficult to find your way back to your ship. And that's something you're gonna want to memorize. The game's first official boss is going to be added shortly after this video is released, and his name is the Red Baron. Not super unique of names, but I mean, it seems like it's fitting for what it is. It's a pilot of some sort, and it seems like to have some cool stuff. Anyway, he has his own ship in space. It will require you to board it and take him out. As I said, it's not out yet, so I have very little information about him other than what you see right here in front of you. And I do know that he has some nice armor and a cool gun, but there will be more updates after he's released to give us even more content about him and the other stuff that sort of revolves around the things that are, in the same package, essentially. And this is where things start to become a little bit more like Tarkov. You have tasks to do when you enter the main parts of the map, and you have loot to gather, doors to unlock, and enemies to find and eliminate. There'll be players and AI pretty much everywhere, but because not everyone gets to this point at the same time, it's actually a little harder to go after player spawns, right away at least. However, it is possible to camp at airlocks waiting for players to enter the area. Thankfully, there are many airlocks that you can just go into, right? Or not go into, but you can spawn at, or when you actually dock into whatever map station you're going to. So it's hard to camp a spawn, but it is possible, so keep that in mind when you are playing for your first couple times, or whenever actually. Then you just get to do whatever you want to get it done, get back to your ship. It's pretty much that once you're in the map, really. So remember where you're docked and make sure you have the captain's key with you in order to get back into the ship. Well, we'll get into the nuance of that whole thing in a minute. It's actually kind of cool. But there you have it. That's the most basic rundown of the game I have for you. And yeah, there's a stash, just like all these other games. Not like DMZ or anything where you actually get a stash. You actually get a stash with cases and stuff like that you can craft and buy, or I don't know if you can buy them, but you can definitely craft them. It's pretty cool. But you get it. You understand a stash. You've seen a stash a million times. So I'm very torn on the whole Tarkov-like wave, that is happening and just about to get even bigger. I'm torn because I think that unlike the Battle Royale wave that happened, these games don't feel too much like they're too samey, like a lot of the Battle Royales did. It was, Battle Royale, you drop in from a thing flying over and then you do the thing and you become the last people, right? Same thing over and over again, just sometimes with different flavors and texts on it, what have you. But these types of things are, not the same in a lot of ways. And simply because of the mechanics and the way you play and the tactics that you use, in order to succeed, make them feel a little bit different. And you have to use different tactics in different games, which I actually do enjoy for this new thing we're doing here in this Tarkov-like. I think we're going to have to come up with a new term for the genre. I don't know. Something like the leave me alone genre. I'm putting that in here. I don't know if that'll ever come up as something that is popular, but I think the leave me alone genre is a good name for it. It tends to be a theme in these PvPvE games where most people just want to vibe, really. Yeah, there's a good amount of players that tend to get very bloodthirsty, but I would say that for the most part, even those types of players that only really get thirsty when they're bored, with most everything else. I would say that most players tend to live in the realm that I sit in by default, which is only really attack things that are a clear danger, attack other players that clearly are a danger, You won't see me following player noises from across the map unless there's something specific I have to do, or unless I am bored with everything else that's happening. And with the introduction of VoIP in a lot of these games, that is not in Marauders at the moment, but it might be eventually, we're hey, it comes out to, hey, we're friendly, just doing some quests, don't hurt me. And has got to be like one of the most common phrases to be said in this whole genre, right? So it feels like that is the proper name. So really, for one of the currently being developed additions to the leave me alone genre, we have Marauders. You may have seen me cover this game a few times with some videos or some streams, and I've put some hours into it. Actually, it's been around for, you know, a few months, and I've had my fun with it so far, and we're about to have more fun with it because the Red Baron will introduce a wipe, and you know, we'll do all kinds of stuff. They just want to wipe for new content and whatnot. And for the most part, it's been engaging, and like I said, I had a good time. Marauders takes place in space. In fact, that's the way you start every raid in Marauders. As I mentioned at the top of the video, it's you start in your crew's spaceship. There's a group leader, and you can have up to 3 additional crewmates, so 4 people in total, 4 players. And you can unlock and craft other ships, so your party leader can actually get to bring new ships that for your crew to, you know, enter in on. However, this point in development, what I've noticed is most likely what you're going to see is the basic starter ship from pretty much everyone. And there are some cool reasons for that, and part of the whole hardcore thing is a reason for that as well. And we'll kind of see that change a little bit. But you get to develop a few things, or it will develop, and you'll get some choices on what sort of reasons you want to bring a ship in. That you might lose. You can use ships where you have upgraded guns and armor and have, you know, stronger space combat and allow you to have pretty decent advantage over other player ships. If you feel like using that tactic, you can't really take out a ship with one shot with any default anything, so using other things that might be a little bit easier to take other enemies down is nice. However, like I said, most people are just going to be using the default ship right now because, like the rest of your gear, if you're killed and lose that ship, other players can steal it. And, well, you just lose it too. Even if nobody steals it, you do lose it. And this is where the captain key comes into play. The captain's key. So, as you'll notice, there is a little inventory spot where a key slot is. Right? You open up your inventory, it's right there. This is, well, your ship's key. I mean, it's the keys to the ignition. The way to get in, really. But you also notice that if you're in a group, and you're not the party leader, you don't have that key in that slot. You don't have anything in that slot. You're not the captain, and so it's not your responsibility. You're not responsible for the ship, essentially. This may change a bit, and as I've understood, it changed a little bit already, as far as like how things work, because it was bugged at some point, and anyway, things will change a little bit. And as I know the devs are playing with it, things are going to get a little wonky. Hopefully they don't get too crazy, but so far we've seen it work. I've seen it not work. I've taken people's cards and sometimes their thing doesn't work. I've taken, you know, my party leader's card and sometimes that doesn't work. But that's the way it's supposed to go. You're supposed to have a card and use it on that ship it's for, specifically, or at least that airlock it's for. But this is how it works. That's how it's supposed to work, and mostly how it works now. The captain's key can be looted, either by you or another player. So if your captain is killed, you may want to get that key before the other player does, so that you and the rest of your other survivors on your team can make it back to the ship and get out. If you don't get the key, you can still escape through the escape pods on the map, but you'll have to find them, and they're not always easy unless you know where they are. The problem with this is that you are extremely visible when you're in your escape pod, so getting back to your ship is the preferred method. You're visible because there's a bright light that emits off the pod's engine and stuff like that. You're just like a shooting star, and you can easily be seen and destroyed, really, and that ends your entire thing. In my experience, it's not really too bad near the end of a raid, though, or at least when you're trying to escape, because people leave at different times, right? Unless somebody's really out there hanging out and trying to look for you, you're pretty safe, but I have seen it before. I have seen people camp out there, so it is possible. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, everything is possible in these types of games, and that's what makes them so fun, really. There are sealed vaults that require to use a blowtorch to open them. You can bring them into raid. You can take them off of other people that might be around it. They might introduce some more NPCs that drop them near the vaults, but right now it seems kind of random. There are different enemies, different, you know, with different tactical attitudes, like prisoners who come up and try to melee you, soldiers that will try to just, you know, mow you down, and really all kinds of different stuff to loot, like lots. Really, the time to kill seems relatively fine, but for the most part, you're gonna have to unload some ammo to take somebody out with any type of armor at all, because they don't do what Tarkov does, right? Tarkov has the different hitboxes from the chin, the eyes, the top of the head, all that stuff. I think for the most part in Marauders, everything is the same. I might be wrong about the chin, but mostly everything is the same. So if they have a helmet, you're gonna have to break through that helmet. Granted, things don't lose durability very quickly. So, you know, you're most of the time, if you're gonna kill them, you're gonna be penetrating them, really. Penetrating their armor, I should say. Sheesh. Whew. Penetrating them? Oh, man. I didn't mean to say that. There's a decent amount of weapons, quite a bit of RNG that takes a bit of getting used to. RNG with the shops that show up, because the shops are on a rotation too, via the factions that come up, the maps, the loot, all that stuff. However, overall, I think I've had a decent time and fun with the game, and I recommend putting this on a watch list. This is not a game that will be for everyone, but put it on your watch list and check it out. There's still a lot of development to be had. It's very much in early access. It still is very playable right now. I think they announced sometime soon will be the Red Baron update. I will put it in the description and the comments if I do have a date for you. And the Red Baron update means a wipe, so everybody can start from fresh again. If you have any questions that I can clear up, and you can always put them in the comments, or you can join us in Discord, discord.gg/Danotage. I hope this was comprehensive enough to give you a decent overview of Marauders, and I hope it helps figure out a new thing to play this year, or in the new year. Anyway, my name is Danotage, and I'll see ya.